Ja, guten Tag, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren.
Hello and good afternoon, ladies
Mein Name
and
ist Christoph
gentlemen. My name
Schneider,
is Christoph
bin
Schneider. I'm
Geschäftsführer
the
der
Managing
CODESYS
Director of Free
GmbH und
Systems
ich habe die
GmbH, and I
letzte
have the
Session für
next
Sie.
presentation
Leider
for
heute
you.
nur aus persönlichen
Unfortunately,
Gründen
for
als
personal
Reserve
reasons, only a
und
canned
nicht
vision
einmal mit
video
CODESYS
recording, not even with a
Hologramm,
CODESYS
sondern
hologram,
einfach nur
but
als
just as a video.
Videodarstellung. Ein bisschen 3D haben wir
We
aber
still
trotzdem
do
auch
have some
ohne
3D
Hologramm,
even
weil
without the
ich Ihnen
hologram,
heute den
because
Depictor
today I
zeigen
want to show you
möchte.
the Depictor.
Der
The
Depictor
Depictor is an add-on to the CODESYS development system, and it allows the realization of 3D animations with CODESYS variables or with PLC variables.
zu realisieren. Ich habe als Beispiel
As an example, I brought
Untertage
a
Bergbaumaschine
deep
mitgebracht.
mining
Um Sie ein bisschen
machine
auf
with
das
me
Thema
to get you in the mood for this
habe ich mal hier ein
topic.
sehr schönes Bild von
And
der
there's a
Firma
very
Kali und
nice
Salz.
little picture from the company Kali und Salz.
Wir befinden uns
We
700
are
Meter
700
unter
meters below
der
ground, and the
Erdoberfläche
little wheel
und
loader
der
that
kleine
you
Radlader,
can
den Sie
see
da unten
at
in
the
der
very
Mitte des Bildes
center
sehen,
of the image
der schafft in seiner
that can
Schaufel etwa 12
transport
Tonnen
12
Salz
tons
zu
of salt
transportieren.
in its shovel.
Das sind also Dimensionen,
These
mit
are the
denen
dimensions
wir
we are
sprechen.
talking about.
Und
And
obwohl wir das alle wissen,
although we all know
mal
it,
ganz kurz,
let me
wo
briefly
kommt dieses
tell
Salz
you,
her?
where does the salt
Vor
come
etwa
from?
200 Millionen
Roughly
Jahren
200 million years
gab es in der
ago,
norddeutschen
there
Tiefebene
was
ein
an inland
Binnenmeer.
sea in the
Dieses
North
Binnenmeer
German
ist viele
plain,
Male ausgetrocknet,
and over the years
immer
it
wieder
dried
geflutet
up,
worden und
was
wieder
flooded
ausgetrocknet,
again,
wieder
dried
geflutet
up,
worden und
and
jedes
was
Mal
flooded again, and
ist das
every
Salz,
time
die Mineralien aus
the
diesem
salt and the
Binnenmeer
minerals from this
ausgefallen
inland sea were
und hat sich dann in
precipitated, and they
großen,
accumulated
sehr mächtigen
in
oder
very
teilweise sehr
large,
mächtigen
thick
Schichten abgelagert.
layers.
Diese Ablagerungen
These
wurden dann
deposits were then
durch
moved
tektonische
to
Verwerfungen
between 300 and
300 bis 1300
1,300
Meter
meters
unter
below ground
die
by
Erdoberfläche
tectonic
geschoben.
faults.
Und dort
And there it
wartet es
sits
jetzt,
now and
dort
waits to
liegt
be
es jetzt,
mined and used.
gefördert und verwendet zu werden. Das Tolle ist,
The
dieses
great thing
Salz
about
oder
it
diese
is
Mineralien
that
sind
this
vor
salt was
200
created
oder 200 Millionen
200
Jahren
million
entstanden.
years ago.
Wir
And then
graben
we
die aus,
come,
bringen sie an
dig
die
it up,
Oberfläche, füllen sie in
take
ein
it to the
Glas und machen
surface,
ein
pack it in jars
Verfallsdatum
or
bis
boxes, and put a
Mitte nächsten
best
Jahres.
before date on it.
Gut, aber das nur
But
am
that
Rande.
only
Die
in
Maschine, die ich
passing.
Ihnen präsentieren möchte,
The
ist
machine I
ein
want to show you is a
sogenannter
so-called
Sprossenbohrwagen.
bench
Der
drilling
Name
machine. Yes, the name
Sprossenbohrwagen
bench drilling
ist
machine
korrekt.
is correct,
Kein
though it has
Straßenbauwagen, sondern ein
nothing to do
Sprossenbohrwagen.
with
Der
park
Name resultiert
benches
aus
at
dem
all. The
Abbauverfahren,
name comes
das
from a
ich Ihnen
mining process,
gerne im
which I would
nächsten
like
Bild
to show you
zeigen
on the
würde.
next picture.
So sieht ein
That is
Salz- oder
what a salt or mineral
aus.
mine normally looks like.
Man sieht hier in
In
der
the
Mitte den
middle, you
Förderturm.
can see the winding
mit dem
tower
Schacht.
with the shafts,
In dem Schacht
with the shaft,
da wird ein Korb
in which a
rauf und
pit
runter
cage is
gefahren.
lowered and
Dieser
raised
Korb
to transport
transportiert
all
alles
the
Material und
material
alle
and
Menschen
people
in den
into and out of the
Bergwerk hinein
mine.
und auch wieder aus dem Bergwerk hinaus. Und schön angedeutet sieht man
Here you
hier
can very well see the deposit of the
Ablagerungen
minerals or salts that
Salze
are
oder
to
der
be
der
mined at a
Mineralien,
later stage.
die man abzubauen wünscht. Hier werden sozusagen
Here,
waagerecht in den
so-called
Berg
tunnels
Stollen
are dug
gegraben,
horizontally
auf verschiedenen
into the
Ebenen.
ground
Hier ist
at
einer
various
und da
levels.
weiter
Here's
unten ist noch
one, and
einer
there's
und
another
noch mal
one
weiter
further
unten
down, and
wieder
yet
einer.
another one after that.
Und ein Strossenabbau bedeutet
And
jetzt,
bench
dass
mining
man
now means
aus
that
der
you
oberen
drill
Lage
holes from the upper layer
Bohrlöcher in das Mineral,
into the material,
in unserem Falle
in our
bis maximal
case,
30 oder
30
12,
or
sogar
even
bis 60
60 meter
Meter lange
long holes.
Diese Löcher werden
These holes
anschließend
are then filled with
mit
explosives,
Sprengmaterial gefüllt
and then
und dann
material
wird
is
dieses Material
split off
abgesprengt.
and falls
Durch dieses
onto
Absprengen
the lower
fällt es
tunnel.
in den unteren Schacht und kann von dort aus dann
Then it can be transported with conveyors and brought to the surface for further processing with the pit cage.
So, unser
Our
Strassenbauwagen
bench drilling
von der Firma
machine from the
SMAG
company
ist
SMAG
halt an
is
einer
located at a rather
recht
hard to
unzugänglichen
access
Platz.
site
Wenn ich Ihnen
underground.
gerne zeigen möchte, wie der
And
funktioniert,
for me, to show you how it works, I can use the depictor for it, and which is exactly what we did some years ago in a technician's project or technical project. Now I'd like to show you that project and give you some details, hoping you will like the depictor. Initially, let me switch to the operating mode. My colleagues, the technicians, made an operating panel for the bench drilling machine. Here you can see the top view of the bench drilling machine. You can see the engine at the rear and the movable parts at the front, and they are maneuvered and moved by hydraulic motors or hydraulic cylinders. The dashed area marks the region that can be covered by the bench drilling machine without it being moved. It can drill holes into the tunnel or the floor within this area. Overall, we have 7 axes, 6 of which are positioning axes, and they are used to maintain the positions and the angles needed from a mining technology perspective. And this is the carriage that I can move back and forth. Then there is an arm to swivel. I have a swivel truss, and I can also lift the arm. This is the only axis that has nothing to do with positioning. I can incline and rotate the mount, and I can also simulate the drill feed. This is the visualization which I can operate my depictor with my application. The application is right behind this window, and this was the application that was part of the technical project. Here we see the collapsed or folded down position of the bench drilling machine in the depictor integrated into CODESYS. The application is extremely simple. Normally, it gets commands by remote control linked via a Modbus. That is to say, positioning commands for the proportional valves, and it then analyzes them. Depending on how I control the proportional value, a valve, a lot or a little, forward or backward, a movement is calculated from the activation and the size of the cylinders or hydraulic motors. And this movement is then fed back to the controller application as simulated in encoder parameters. That's all that happens in this application. That's pretty easy. There are some cylinder models, one for each cylinder moved, or function models, and each module comes with only little code and calculates, based on the volume, a speed or a position, the basis being the volume in which the cylinder is located at the end. It has 2 planes and so on, and it's quite easy to figure it out. Well, in addition to this simple application, this project also includes the depictor and, in addition, the operating panel you've just seen, and that we can also see here as visualization. SMAG was kind enough to give us a 3D model of the bench drilling machine. This 3D model comes directly from the construction department. Let me now move the mouse around this model, and you can see, even if I zoom in, that this is very exact and very detailed and comprehensive. The task of the technical project was to simulate this machine. For that, the movable parts had to be extracted from the full 3D model and linked to the positioning parameters calculated in the depictor. Now, the individual parts can be controlled via the visualization, and let's just do that. I shift the carriage, and while I'm doing this, you can see that the carriage reverses. And all the other elements mounted to the carriage also reverse, of course. And this is the task of the depictor, that is to say, the first position is the bench drilling machine itself, And the first axis directly mounted to the bench drilling machine is the carriage. When the carriage reverses, all the other axes mounted to the carriage also reverse. Let's now go to a position in which drilling normally takes place. Stop the carriage. Here we go. Let's now swivel the arm. I have to make sure that I do it in the right direction. Okay, now let's swivel the arm to the center. It is simulated such that my pressing here stops the simulation, although valve is zeroed, which makes the axis stop. Let's now swivel the truss. Here we go. And now you can imagine how this machine works on principle, how it approaches a certain point in order to drill there. Let me stop that again, move the window somewhere else, and reduce it in size. Here we go. Let's now incline the mount, again in the right direction. Here again, inclination and stop. And the mount is also rotated a bit, and it takes a different position. There is another angle, another inclination, and it can drill into the ground. Once I start the drilling feed, it is also simulated how this hole is drilled into the ground. The Depictor can not only generate 3D animations, but also set camera positions. We use that here too. So to speak, I can set various camera positions here, and just at the push of a button, I can navigate to this position, and then I can see the machine from this very perspective. You can also automate this. I can start camera tracking, and then it would automatically go to a different camera position every couple of seconds. In this case, this happens every 5 to 6 seconds. There's a new camera position navigated to. Well, and the purpose of it all is that the functioning of the bench drilling machine can be shown to a client very easily. I have to turn off the camera now, so that I can move the machine manually again. All there is for me to say is thank you most cordially. My colleagues will be glad to answer all questions. I hope you liked it at least a little bit. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I wish you a remaining great day and say goodbye.